Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there, not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
Hey everybody, God bless you. Thank you for joining in again to the Crystal Jones Show. Welcome. And guess what? Happy Black History Month to everybody. Thank you all for coming and visiting the show that's all about life's balance. Well, we've reached another year of Black history, and there are so many great things about our history. We have a wealth and a plethora of people who we're just blessed with. I thank God for being a part of this rich culture of being a Black person. So we wanted to do something a little different this year when, I like to recognize people in Black history. When you go to my pages, you go to Facebook and you see every day I try to honor a different person in Black history or groups of people, that type of thing. So today I have someone that I'm going to be honoring in Black history, which is none other than the person of King James. Yes, King James the 6th and the 1st. He's King James of England, the 6th and the 1st. Now, many people had thought that King James was a white king, but no, the one who wrote the Bible, he put together the Bible in 1611. He had gotten together a group of scholars and writers that knew the different books, because he had kept copies of the prophetic books, the Old Testament, the New Testament, everything. So they came together and put this Bible together because he was a Scottish nobleman. But what many don't know is that he was from the line of Judah. King James was a king of Great Britain, France, and Ireland. So he ruled all three at one time. He was a Black man, and the King James of the Bible is named after him. He approved 54 scholars to work on the translation. 47 worked in 6 groups at 3 locations for 7 years, comparing previous English translations of the Geneva Bible and texts in the original languages, Hebrew and Greek. The King James translation had a significant influence on the English language and was widely accepted as the standard English Bible. Because of the project being overseen by King James and the care and precise attention to detail during this 7-year translation, the King James Bible was considered one of the most accurate translations in existence. And just to let you know, it's the #1 book in the world, which leads me to kind of being a little surprised, because so many people say, oh, I don't believe in God, or I don't know, is Jesus real, is this, that, and the other. But yet they're so bothered by this one particular book, the Bible. So this book was finally put together, and in 1611, it was put in print, and it was, different people were buying it and whatnot. But the original Bible had the apocryphal books in it. Those apocryphal books, which you hear me on the teachings here when I talk about the book of Jasher, the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, there are about 14 or so books that were in the original Bible. Those books bring out the Old Testament. They let you know in detail what happened, the situation with the flood with Noah, why it occurred, which had to do with the fallen angels cohabitating with the women on the earth and all of that, so that you can understand when people say things like aliens and stuff like that. A lot of times they're talking about the Nephilim, which were the hybrid people that were on the earth because of the cohabitation of the fallen angels with the women, because they weren't supposed to cohabitate with women. That's what the men on the earth were for. So King James came together because our people who originally, most of us who are here in America that are Black American or even West Indian American, originally our people came from Israel. We migrated to other areas because of the Roman and Jewish wars that broke out amongst our people when we had to finally flee the land in 70 AD. But prior to that, we were in several captivities. We were in the Egyptian, the Assyrian, the Greek captivity, the Roman captivity. There are so many captivities our people went through. And so finally, this is the last captivity according to Bible prophecy, which is the American captivity. But King James saw that in his time, he saw the different captivities that we had been through prior to his time. And he was ruling in England because why? That was during the what they call the Dark Ages, and they so-called don't know what happened during those times. You hear them talking about, oh, that was in the Dark Ages. We're not sure how that went on. What happened was a lot of Black Jewish people were ruling Europe. So we had people like King James, who came from a line of kings. And so he, at that time that he was ruling, he decided, he saw that our people were being scattered to every corner of the earth, as the Bible did predict. And so he said, well, so that my people will not forget who we are and where we came from and what our laws and practices were originally, he decided to put the Bible together so we would know. So now you know that they lied when they whitewashed our history and told us that there were white missionaries that taught us the Bible. That's not true. We had known the Bible because who was Black? Moses was Black, okay? He was brought up amongst the Egyptians. At that time, come on now, the Egyptians were Black. How in the world could he have been brought up with Black Egyptians? But he was a Hebrew. The Hebrew people were Black. Our homeland, Israel, is in Northeast Africa. Okay, Africa is the land of the Blacks, but they wanted to whitewash our history and get us to believe that we were supposed to be enslaved people, because now they had enslaved us over here in America. So they had started working on changing the meaning of the Bible so that we would believe this kind of stuff. And so as our generations went on after we got here in America, we lost a lot of our history. So a lot of us didn't know. So now a lot of people are going back to the homeland. The Dead Sea Scrolls showed up. It's a whole lot of things. And even people from Europe are even telling the truth about who we are. They're telling the Blacks were always the Jews. The Black Americans that are there, the Caribbean people, they're the Jews. Most of the Blacks that are here today in America, most of us are from the tribe of Judah, or the tribe of Benjamin. A lot of us who have West Indian in us, some of us are from the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, but there are 12 tribes, and we were scattered to the four corners of the earth, so we look different now. The Dominican people are a part of the 12 tribes. Okay, the Haitian people are the tribe of Levi. The Dominican people are the tribe of Simeon. The Caribbean people are the tribe of Benjamin. We have the people who are from the Hawaiian and the Fiji lands. I believe they are from, I'm trying to think I forget which tribe it is, but there's 12 different tribes. And you have the Filipino people that are from a different tribe. So we all look different because we scattered. So when we scattered, we were into every area of the earth. So we mixed in with the cultures, but there's not a place on earth that we're not a part of these different cultures. So I wanted to bring out today and acknowledge in Black history, King James. And the scripture that I wanted to bring with to share with you today comes from Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, that this is how we started scattering, was that God made a covenant with us. He said, either you're going to obey the covenant or not. If you don't obey what I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. It said in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 15th verse, it shall come to pass if you will not hearken unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee. So he talks about all the different curses that would come upon us. All right. How we would, the different sicknesses and things that would come upon us. It talks about in the 32nd verse, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. There shall be no might in thine hand. That kind of describes what happened in slavery. Our people were sold once we got here. They were sold from plantation to plantation. The Lord, it talks about the sicknesses. He'll smite us in the knees. Many of our people have arthritis and in the legs. It talks about the Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there you will serve other gods, wood and stone. And you will become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord will lead us, because now we're in all these different nations and we're hated of all people, right? So now it says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. We're low on the totem poles. They always blame everything on us. We're thought of as the lowest people, and so it's because of the curses that came upon us because of our ancestors' disobediences. Moreover, these curses shall come upon thee, shall pursue thee and overtake thee, because you hearken not to the voice of the Lord your God. And this shall be for a sign and a wonder upon your seed, right? So it says, therefore you will serve your enemies in hunger and thirst and nakedness, which we've been through that, and we go through a lot of that. He said he would send a nation against us from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies. Whose emblem is the eagle? Rome and America, right? A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, people of fierce countenance, right? So we see the fierceness that these people have against us. Even today, we still go through it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. There you will serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have served. Again, even wood and stone, right? But what's going to happen now? Once we catch ourselves, right, which we have, we are coming around. It shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, and you return to the Lord your God, the Lord will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations. So you hear Africa calling out to us now, telling us, come back home, get the dual citizenship, right? He will return and gather thee from all nations, whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the utmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which your fathers possessed. So eventually we are going back home. Christ will return. We will reign and rule, and he will rule from the New Jerusalem. The Lord will circumcise your heart and your seed, right? So but what's going to happen in the 7th verse of Deuteronomy 30, the Lord God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So are they going to get away with what they did to us? What happened with in the Atlantic Ocean, where we lost millions of people? No, they are going to reap what they have sown, right? So this is going to happen as we return and obey the Lord, love ourselves, love one another, and do what we're supposed to be doing. So today we have a special guest with us. She is a photographer, and we are grateful to see Black female photographers that are on the rise. And I believe she's been the first photographer on my show down through the years. You know, I have many guests, but her name is Liz Menzie. She's a photographer and a traveler. She does a lot of traveling to different parts of the world. So I want you to welcome to the show none other than Miss Liz Menzie. I'm going to read her bio for you. She has a lovely bio. Of course, I want to read that for you here. I'm sorry, this I had it right here and then it flipped on me. Okay, here it is. Liz Menzie. She is a Caribbean American photographer based in New Jersey. As a self-taught photographer, Liz uses her medium to share how she is experiencing various corners of the world. Her work mostly includes images of faces and bodies that are not likely to be shown in the Western media. Her ongoing goal is to combat age, beauty, and cultural standards while cultivating an awareness of who else is here in this world with us. Her love of solo travel and exploration complements this passion very well, as it allows her to break away from her day to day and engage with subjects of varying cultures. Currently, Liz has two pieces on display at Morris Museum in Morristown, New Jersey, and is working on a series set out to explore towns she's lived in previously. So, welcome to the show, Miss Liz Menzie.
Thank you. I'm a little nervous, but I'm very excited. That was great. Thank you so much.
you, you're welcome. So glad to have you on the show. Welcome to the Crystal Jones Show. Thank you for being a guest. And we're so proud of you as a Black female to be a photographer and a solo traveler. That is just awesome. And I share with you a Caribbean root. My mom and them, their family is from Montserrat, West Indies. So whoo for, for my Caribbean roots as well. So I'm so glad to have you on the show. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So where did I start? So I guess just keeping it on the basis of photography. I started photography, I would say about 4 years ago, but it's truly has always been a part of my life, thanks to my mom. So my mother is from Jamaica, and very early on, I was visiting Jamaica with my family. And one of my fondest memories is, just her bringing all these little disposable cameras, like, the little Fuji ones that you would like bring to Walgreens or something to get cleaned. And we would just take pictures. If there's one thing Jamaicans love is taking photos. And so, that was like our thing. And now, fast forward 20 plus years, one of my favorite things to do with my mom is just to sit down and go through those photos with her and just reminisce on, family members and just the fun times that we used to have, back in the day. And so photography has always kind of been a part of my life thanks to her. But it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I actually picked up a camera that was solely for myself, and set out to do something with that camera. And I will say, out of those 4 years, it was only 2 years ago that I, tried to pursue it seriously. And when I say seriously, I don't mean in a money way, because I do not use photography for monetary purposes. I just solely, use it as a way to just express my, the way that I view the world. And just use it as a platform to, practice creativity and share with other people kind of what I'm seeing, within the world itself.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And you brought some of your wonderful pictures here with us today to share, to let us see about your wonderful travels. And so we're going to go and look at, some of those pictures today and see what's been going on as far as, different areas of the world. So let's start with the first picture from, I believe it's Cuba.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this picture.
Yeah. So, well, first off, I would say if ever anyone gets a chance to go to Cuba, I know for Americans it's a bit tough. but hopefully that may change this year soon. It's a beautiful country. And I think for me, because it's so close to Jamaica, it meant a lot for me and my mom and my uncle to be able to travel to Cuba, and just an exceptional place to be. The people were so exceptionally friendly. And I think, just in this photo alone, that's one of the things that reminds me of how friendly people were in Cuba, is that, I'm walking around just like, I think my mom and my uncle were at a bar at that time. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to like step out and walk around for a bit, see what's around here. And I turned the corner and I saw this man just simply sitting there. And one thing I love is when people are okay with being by themselves.
Yeah.
Because, you don't really see that much. And so for him to just be sitting there and just enjoying his time and enjoying his alone space was so exceptional. And then when he saw me, he had the biggest smile on his
Oh,
face.
wow.
And that was very inviting. And so I kind of like shook my camera at him and said, may I take a photo? But obviously, I unfortunately do not speak Spanish. I'm practicing, but I don't speak Spanish. And so, I couldn't converse with him. But I think just that body language of being open, and just being inviting, and not being aggressive or in any way, shape, or form, just allowed him to feel comfortable with me taking his photo. And so that just meant a lot to me. And easily, it's one of my favorite photos because of that. I think, it's difficult as a photographer, as a female photographer, I would say too, to take photos of people on the street, because a majority of people don't want that to happen at all.
True.
And so sometimes, and I've had an instance in Paris actually where I took a photo of someone and they were very angry. So for, this person to just be open and comfortable for letting that happen just meant a lot to me as well. And so easily one of my favorite photos.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's take a look at the next. I'm gonna try to get all of them in. I want to try to make sure we get them all in. But the next photo we have here, wow. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so love this photo. Also in Cuba, I would say, and you're just kind of like walking around Havana, and you're walking kind of up and down the streets, and it's very like touristy filled. And then you have like your locals, but it's just a bunch of tourists. And then what you'll notice is, and I've seen this in a lot of countries, and I'll talk about it because there's two other images in here that kind of pick up that same subject. Is there's like cultural garb that different countries have that represents like different time periods in their history, and it comes to the point where in today's time, people are wearing that as a way to gain money from tourists. And so, I do struggle with that a little bit. And I typically do not take photos of people like that. But when I saw her, it actually made me think, actually, you should be taking photos of people like this just to, keep that. Because one of the things that I wish is not the case for Jamaica is that we don't really celebrate a lot of our history as much as other cultures do.
Okay.
And so for me, it was very important to kind of capture her. And I will say that I did have to pay her to take the photo. So that's like the thing, right? That they're wearing this not in celebration of their tradition, but they're wearing it because Americans mainly or tourists are going to come and take photos of them. And that's a way that they can earn money. And so it's just very interesting to understand that they're using kind of their tradition to earn money. But then it also opens a conversation of, was this the only option that they had in order to earn money for their family? And that's a very scary thing to think about. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of don't blame them in a certain sense, because Americans are going to come there, take pictures of them, and make millions of dollars off of that picture. Most definitely. So I kind of don't blame them for doing that. I mean, it is kind of disturbing, but that's kind of the nature of the beast, so to speak. That's what happens. So I guess while they're there, and like you said, a lot of them maybe they probably, there are those, just like in America, a lot of time people don't think that there are poverty stricken areas in America, but there are. and
Right.
there are poverty-stricken areas in other cultures, other countries. And so these people, who knows from day to day how they make their money. Maybe a woman such as herself, maybe she has to just do a lot of sewing or something and selling stuff on the street, sewing hats or sewing whatever, like the outfit she had on. Maybe she sold stuff like that or whatever. But that she probably doesn't have a 401k and
Right.
all of that kind of thing. So, hey, I ain't mad at her.
No.
So let's go on to the next. Let's go to the next photo. This gentleman here.
Okay, so this was still taken in Cuba, in Vinales, Cuba. And my family and I went on a little tour through Vinales, and we actually ended up in a cigar farm. And this is one of the gentlemen, I believe, maybe like the grandpa of the family. And, so they have like this family farm, and they have like the chickens and the horses everywhere. And then they have, like tobacco fields and a section where they dry the tobacco. And so you get like a nice little tour of that. I do not smoke cigars, but I know Cuban cigars are very popular. So, it was definitely a tour that you have to do just to learn about the culture and what that all kind of, what the steps to kind of get to that cigar. So that was very interesting to see all of that. And this gentleman was just showing us how to roll a cigar. So we kind of got to practice what that was like. And that was really nice. And we had a translator there. So, that was very helpful to be able to communicate with them through a translator. It's such an exceptional time. And I think if anyone were to go to Cuba, Havana maybe for a day, but if you can go anywhere else, Vinales, Veradero, it's just a beautiful country, beautiful terrain, and the people are just insanely friendly. And there's just so much culture there. And I think, cigars are a big part of Cuban culture, especially for those who love cigars. So definitely an image that I wanted to capture and bring back home.
Wow, that's interesting. I never heard of that, a cigar farm.
Yeah.
That is definitely very different to see, them making and all of that. And like you said, myself too, I'm not a smoker or anything like that, but it would be interesting to know what are the benefits, if any, of cigars or what they make cigars with. Because sometimes they may smoke things like people have that discrepancy about marijuana, because marijuana has medicinal rather properties that are good for people. It helps people with glaucoma and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I would love to go and just sit with them and talk and see, maybe there's something that we're missing out on.
Yeah. That's one of the main reasons why I'm practicing Spanish, right? Because when I kind of look at the list of countries that I want to travel to, which is almost every country, majority of them are Spanish speaking countries. And so it's very important for me to learn Spanish, because you miss so much when you can't communicate with the people there. And with translation, you can lose certain things in translation, right? And people will respond to you very well if you try to speak their language. And so that's kind of one of, the next time I travel, once we get out of COVID, I'm hoping I can be a little conversational in Spanish by then.
That's a good idea. I myself need to brush up on my Spanish and get it going.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good idea. So the next picture that we have, which one? Let's go to the next one. This one, I love this one.
Thanks. This is the image that sits on the landing page of my website. It's also my cousin. I should probably let them know that he's on here. He's so cute, isn't he?
He's adorable.
I just love his little face. The interesting image is that this was my first time seeing him this very day. First time seeing him, and this was taken in January of 2020. So right before COVID, I was able to go to Trinidad because my grandmother was ill. And, during all of that, I was able to see cousins that I've never seen before, or cousins that I haven't seen in years. And so it was just so important for me to be there and have that experience. And what I love is, and no one would know this outside of me, but he so unsure about who I was, he's like, who is this person? She's just like loud and just like happy and just like she to see me and I don't even know who she is. And so there was just this level of confusion, and it's so cute when children are confused. And so here I am, like with my camera in his face, and he's just like, what's going on? And so to be able to capture that confusion, but that, almost that interest as to what is this person doing, was very, very cool for me to capture. And I really love this image. He's not smiling. He's just staring into the lens, just staring at me is what I feel like. And he's just like, what's going on here? I love it.
Yeah, I love that, and the fact that he's family, that is really that's beautiful. I'm sure that his mom and yourself, or y'all are gonna frame that, and he will, even if you give him a copy of the show so he could see himself that he was on the show, he'll always remember that. So. That's a beautiful picture. I love that.
Yeah.
So the next picture we have, which one do we have next?
Yes. So this is actually one of the two images, and the next one you'll see as well. That's currently on display at Morris Museum in Morristown.
Oh, wow.
And so, and if you have a chance, I think actually this month is the last month that things will be on display. They've been on display since April of last year. Okay. So quite some time. But I love these images because, well, funny story. I was on a date this night, and the day was not going well, Crystal. It was not going well. We went to dinner and it was just so awkward. And I'm a little bit awkward, but it was bad. And trying to be a trooper, I said, okay, let's go for a walk. And we're walking past, I believe it's Washington Square Park and in New York City. And then you just see a crowd of people and you're just wondering what's going on, and you hear music and, being nosy, you just kind of go and you peek. And then you find just like a group of people, majority of them were men, just kind of rapping, just freestyling off of whatever beat that was playing at the time. And it was exceptional for me because literally a week or so ago, I was watching on Netflix this docuseries called Hip Hop Evolution.
Okay.
Which is an exceptional docuseries, and I recommend it to everyone who's interested in hip hop and rap music. And on that show, there was an episode that spoke about ciphers in New York City. And, they were saying how when I believe it's Mayor Giuliani during his term, there was like this cleaning up of the parks and what that, how that impacted, Black individuals in New York City, how that impacted Black music. And so it was very interesting to have that. And then being able to see that it was something that people were actually still doing today.
Wow.
It was just, for me, I flashed back as if I was, back in the day. I was, a part of those ciphers back when they originated in New York City. And so it just felt so good to just be a part of that. And to see that, my fellow people were still engaging in this activity and keeping this, his history of the music itself. And just so happens that I bumped into someone that I haven't seen since 8th grade. And I remember he would always write in his little notebook, and he always had a pencil and a notebook, and he would write raps, just lines or bars, as they would say, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And to see him there rapping, I was just like, oh my gosh, just someone who just loved something for so long and just kept at it. And now he's just like in this circle and just rapping, and everyone's like looking at him. He's so cool. It's just an exceptional moment to be there. And these images were not captured, though, from my first time being there.
Okay.
Actually, learned that it was held every Friday. And so I would go back and get comfortable and like see them and have them see me, and that, I'm not just here to take pictures of them. And then eventually, as time passed, they allowed me to go inside the circle. And then from the inside, I was able to capture these images. And that just meant the world to me. Um, because it means a lot. When you go there, you never want to have people feel like they're zoo animals that you're just taking photos of. You want to have that level of respect as well. And so for them to include me in that, that meant a lot. So
That's awesome, because thinking of rap, that started out in the Bronx. And I can remember back then when rap had came out. At the time, I was living in Mount Vernon, because I grew up in Mount Vernon. And it was so much of a fun thing for them at the time.
yeah,
It didn't become this thing about them calling Black women names and all of that kind of stuff. It wasn't
it was
back then. It was just like them rhyming. They just got a kick out of rhyming and talking about life and stuff like that. And then when they got bought out by, which happens a lot to our culture, is the things that God blesses us with. Sometimes our people have sold out to people who come and destroy it
right.
and make it something ugly, you know? So I remember when it was really pure, and we just used to have fun just listening to them, talk about life. And it was even funny, some of the things that they would rap about. We would just have a good time, So I'm reminiscing as you're talking about that, the guys that I grew up with in Mount Vernon High School and whatnot. And, it was a fun thing. But I understand that. So the next picture, is that the guy with the sweater?
Yes.
That's supposed to be him. Okay. So let's go to that one, to pick the guy with the sweater.
Mhm. I think we jumped ahead a bit.
You jumped ahead. Go back to the guy with the black sweater. Yeah, him. Mm-hmm.
So he's also, this is also from a cipher, probably the same night as well. And there's just so much to say. So I do just want to kind of jump back a bit where you mentioned the word reminisce. And I love that you said that, because that's one of the things that I want to do with my photography, right? Is allow people to kind of go back or tap into, nostalgia and think about, good times that have passed before that you just may not remember. We're always so busy and we're always doing new things and trying new things. Sometimes we do kind of forget to slow down and be in the moment. And I think images or photography allows you to kind of bring certain pieces of your past with you. And so I just love that you mentioned the word reminisce, and it means a lot that you can, kind of tap back into that by just looking at these images here. So that's great. But with the image of the gentleman with the sweater, fun story about him. He's into stocks.
All right.
And I think that's, the beautiful thing about rap as well, is that there's just this nasty stigma that can be tied to it, especially with what we see on TV and the radio now, where they're just rapping about nonsense. But it is truly an art, and there are people who are invested in the art. And it's not solely that one demographic of people that people associate rap with. These people are intelligent. These people are innovative and creative and exceptional. And they just come from different walks of life. I mean, I remember one time I went and there was a white gentleman with a suit on and a basketball in his hand. And he literally came from work and he was in the circle rapping too. And so that's what I love. And you have women in the circle as well. And they're given the respect and the time to come and just, rap. And I love that. It's just such an open space and welcoming space. I obviously didn't rap because I have no business.
I hear you. When you get to hear the I don't know if you were able, well, they had it on mute, but the theme for my show is a rap. It's done by MC Heaven.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's a Christian rapper. So
Nice.
I use her songs, and you'll hear it when you see later on. You'll hear it. But I love to hear her rap. She has come on the show, and when she comes on, we just this was back when we were in the studio. We used to love for her to come and do her raps. I mean, And there's another young lady that used to come too. There would be a couple of them that would come on and do their raps. But MC Heaven, she is my favorite female rapper.
I love that. I love that.
Yes, yes. So okay, so the next let's go to the next picture, the young girl. Yes.
Oh man, so I can go on for days, so I'm going to try not to. So this was actually taken in Thailand, and this was my first ever solo trip abroad. And so everything about Thailand and just any photos that I've taken in that time were mean a lot to me. But similar to the image of the women in Cuba, is that this young girl is wearing traditional garb that's traditional to Thai culture, and she is with her mother and another young girl who may or may not be her sister, and they are there to pose for tourists and to have their photos taken, and that for me was very hard and very difficult because she's a child. And so, she's not waking up and saying, okay, I'm going to do this to earn money. That is solely a choice, or in my opinion, I view it as a choice of the parent to, put this on, the young girl and have her stand out and have photos taken of her for earned income. And, you start thinking about like child labor and is this okay? Is this not okay? So you feel very uncomfortable, but it's a beautiful, beautiful garment with like different beads and different coloring, and it's very ornate. And one thing you'll see if you ever visit Thailand, and I hope you do, is that they are just so very articulate with their work and their art, or meticulous, I think is the word. And everything is just perfectly placed and perfectly sized and just so neat. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to capture her. And the way that I captured her is that she's leaning against, the stairwell, which is in the shape of like a dragon's body. And just the detail in that alone is exceptional. This image in color is insane, but I prefer my images to be in black and white. So this was edited to be in black and white. But just the details here alone is amazing. And just her taking a little break, and then, the contrast between her outfit and then, which is, historical, but then she has Crocs on, which is very new age. I thought that was funny as well. So very nice image to have.
Wow. Is that a hat she has on?
Yeah. Yep. That's a part of the cultural garb I think is exceptional.
Yeah. Wow. That's definitely very, very different, to see a whole outfit like that. And I guess in her country, I guess I kind of have to would look at it as if her mother is like the modeling agency, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we do it too, right? We have, kids that are born and they're like the Gerber babies, and their parents are the managers. So we all do it. But sometimes you just kind of question, like,
I know. In a foreign country, you kind of wonder how far that's going, because even in our country, though they do things like that, sometimes they take it to the wrong level of trafficking and stuff like that. So you're hoping that that's definitely not in the agenda. So you just hope and pray that this is something that the mother's doing to teach this girl that, this could be, she could grow up and be a model or something like that. That could be a way of her making an income. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. What is the next photo? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, perfect segue, because this is in Colombia, which, oh my gosh, loved Colombia so much. And this is also of a worker. So the garb kind of looks very similar to that of the women in the Cuba photo. And I think that just taps into just, African culture. And I remember thinking in Colombia, there's a town called Palenque, and it's noted as one of the first free slave cities in the world. And when I was there, I remember there was a lady, and she actually had on a similar garb to what you see in the image here. and she was making, I don't remember what they call it, but in Jamaica they call it drops. And drops are, it's made out of coconut and like sugar and molasses and things like that. And it's just like a nice like treat or snack, and it's super sweet and it's really really good. And I remember her making it, and I felt so emotional because for for me to be there as a Caribbean American and seeing it as something that my family has made, but then seeing a Colombian woman make it, and then have other Caribbean women and men on that trip, on that tour with me, saying that, oh, this is what we call it in Antigua, this is where we call it in the Virgin Islands, like that was just so impactful to me because it just registers that we African descent, people of African descent, are everywhere. And this creation of this food, this treat, it's not Jamaican, it's not Colombian, it's not, from, the Virgin Islands, it's African. And we all just kind of have it being made in these different corners of the earth because that's just how our ancestors did it. And so I love that very much. But in this image here, this lady, she's carrying her stool and she's walking home because this, it's at the end of the day, it's the evening, and she's just been sitting out, all day, just kind of, taking photos or having her photo taken for income. So, and you see a lot of that in Cartagena, Colombia as well.
Wow, that's amazing, with them holding that up on their head and all of that.
Yeah.
And like you said, making the drops and all.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. And this is a way, like you said, of them making an income. So, hey, what
Yeah.
can I say? Okay, so what's the next picture we have? Is this gentleman?
Yes. So this was also taken in Colombia. And I think when I look back at all my images from Colombia, it's just me taking photos of regular everyday lifestyle, things that I would probably see in Jamaica just walking around, but maybe not in America. And here we just see a young, he's not young, but he may feel young. This gentleman here, he's peeling plantains, which
Yes.
in Jamaica we call it plantain. I don't. My mom say plantains. What's that? But we call them, in America you say plantains, and it's actually one of my favorite things. I used to say a plantain a day keeps the doctor away. And so it just meant so much to be able to capture that image of him peeling the plantain, very similar to how we do it. And I think the beautiful thing about travel as well, and I really tapped into this in Thailand, is people, we do such a good job of trying to differentiate ourselves from other people or segregate ourselves from others and say, oh, we do this and you do that, so we're different. And if you really kind of like peel those things away, peel all, the categorization that we get so caught up in doing with ourselves, there's so much similarities, the fact that he's, they're eating plantains, that's something that's very similar to what we do in Jamaica and different parts of the world. And similar to in Thailand, they have this fruit called jackfruit. And to be able to see jackfruits on a tree in Thailand, where I grew up in Jamaica, seeing jackfruits in a tree, just like walking around, that just means so much to me because it's completely different sides of the world, but you have this one thing, a fruit, that is very similar. So it just shows how integrated all different cultures are, despite the fact that, we are very kind of caught up in being different from each other.
That's so true. Plantains, I have that every morning for breakfast, pretty much.
Yes.
I don't think it's too many days that I go without plantains. Sometimes I come home, I have it for dinner too. So
right, sprinkle some salt and that's all you need.
Oh man, ever since I was a kid, because again, my family, my mother's side, they're from Montserrat, so we definitely eat the plantains all the time. So I gotta rush it a little bit because I want to get all the pictures in because we got about 10 minutes left. But what's the next picture?
Yes, so we're almost there. So this and the next image were actually taken at a Black Lives Matter protest in Newark, New Jersey. And, probably the last set of photos I have taken, because I haven't really been out and about taking photos, during COVID. But I love this image because, we're marching, and then out of nowhere, you just hear all this noise, and you just see all these four-wheelers kind of coming on the scene, and they're doing all these cool tricks, and all the photographers get really excited and try to capture them. And instead of me trying to capture like the cool guys doing like the tricks and stuff, I see this gentleman just like sitting there on his bike, and I tap him on the shoulder and I say, "Can I take a photo of you?" And I did, and I think it's just like such a good photo, because I think at times, especially in Newark, New Jersey, there is just a bad stigma with people, with Black men especially.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
for them to have an outlet, a space where they're just, doing something outside of, anything negative. They're just riding their little four-wheelers. It was just great for me to capture that, and just to see the the difference in ages of the people who were riding these bikes as well, I think is pretty neat. Um, and, I think there's a film on HBO, I think called Charm City. Four-wheelers and just bikes are such a big part of Black culture. And I don't
Mhm.
think a lot of people know that. I didn't know that for a while. So it was just great to be able to capture him in this moment as well. And then the next image, I'm not sure if you guys want to click over to that, but that was also taken during the Black Lives Matter protest in Newark. And I love it because, he has like a very traditional African flag there, or Black cultural flag, excuse me. And then he's, you see the city hall kind of in the background with the American flag. And I think that's just such a great, image, a great capture there. And he's like just like walking towards us. And I call it Exodus because of a song by Bob Marley, who I'm obsessed with. And
Ooh,
it has that message that, like we're going home, or we're walking home. And I think
right.
just, combining that with the idea, the concept of Black Lives Matter, and, marching for rights and marching for, equality. I think that the two just means a lot to me. So really, really do love this image as well.
Awesome, awesome. I think of the Exodus too. I always remind my listeners that we came out of Egypt and every other captivity we were in, and we will come out of this one too.
Mhm.
So, but I'm glad to see that in the meantime, our people are on the rise, doing so many things. There are so many different Black communities that are rising in different areas. Because sometimes I hear, Black Americans talk about, oh, well, when we had Black Wall Street, they burnt it down. But now we have so many other Black communities that
Right.
are on the rise. So many of our people are doing different things. There's a changing of the guard happening. We're going to always have that fight. We're going to have that fight, because I always teach whenever I do my Bible teaching, that it's a fight going on between Esau and Jacob. And it's always either one's going to rule or the other. So there's always going to be that struggle. But on our way out of this captivity, we are going to continue to come up on the rise, in spite of us losing a lot of our people, which that goes on in history without saying. It just happens. Sometimes things happen. Some of our people are maybe not well educated when it comes to certain things. So, and then just sometimes it's just your time to go, or whatever, is going on, sickness, this, that, or the other. But we will rise again. We ruled Europe at one time. Africa is the land of the Blacks.
Mhm.
It's in scripture that we will come and rule again. We will rule and reign with Christ when he reigns in Jerusalem. So our time is coming. But the Bible definitely tells us that Esau is the end of this world. Esau represented, remember the two children. Esau was red and hairy. He went on to be the father of the white nations, of the European nations. And he, got away from the beliefs and systems that we had. So him and Jacob were always fighting. They were fighting from the womb. And it was prophesied to them that was why they were fighting. So Esau is the end of this world, but Jacob is the beginning of the next. So we have next. And our lives, Black lives, we have always mattered and we always will. So I just want to encourage you to continue with what you're doing, because that is an awesome thing. That's something that helps our culture too. If we
Right.
could see where you go, where you've been, that helps us too to, start thinking, oh, maybe I'll go to Thailand. Maybe I'll go here. Maybe I'll go there. You know, things like that. Because even people who are in ministry, to be able to, you know, go and fellowship with people in these different countries and things like that. Those are the things that we need, to start doing and start thinking about doing. But what are you planning now, regarding your photography? What are some of your, plans that are coming up?
Yeah. So I don't have anything set in stone. I think for me, I do want to start venturing into videography. I think just based on, just how, creatively the world is shifting. Everything is virtual, but, it's not just about, still images anymore. It's about video. So that is something that I actually like trying to teach myself now. That's something that I want to explore. Hopefully have maybe a YouTube channel soon. Um,
Mhm.
but in regards to like my work, I do want to do a series. I'll call it Back Home. And, my goal actually was to start that last year, as I was going to go to Jamaica and spend some time there. And I wanted to take images of just, being in my town and the people of my town. But since that may not happen anytime soon, I'm actually going to start kind of like backtracking here in the US, right? So I've lived in the Bronx. I was born in Brooklyn. I lived in the Bronx for quite some time and in New Jersey. So, but I don't really, I'm not in those towns now. So it'd be a great way for me to kind of backtrack and just like reminisce and be nostalgic about previous places that I've lived before. There's also another series that I do want to work on. Um, and I probably won't share that just yet because I think it's an amazing idea and I don't want anyone to steal that idea. But I do have some work. I think, just tapping into, Black women's stories is really what I want to do. And so that project will be focused on that.
Okay. Tell everybody where they can reach you.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Liz Menzie. And you can find my content on my website, which is lizmenzie.com. So, more content is on my website opposed to Instagram because I kind of took a little hiatus away from Instagram this year. I think everyone needs to do that sometimes. And then if you need to reach out to me, you can reach out at lizmenziephotos@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Yeah.
I'm sure many people are going to love this segment because, like I said, I believe you're our first actual photographer. So, and the photos are beautiful. Continue to travel. I love that you travel. I love that because I love traveling.
Yeah.
And I want to do a lot more of it, and you being a Black woman doing what you're doing, it's just so encouraging to other young as well as older Black women, because that's something that women might want to do when they retire.
Yes. And they
That would, yeah, that would be an awesome thing to do because now you have the time to do it. You can go around and, take your pictures and everything like that. And I also encourage Black women, get a television show, because when you have a show, you have a voice. But thank you again for being a guest. I'm almost over my time, but thank you all for being a lovely audience. Thank you for joining the Crystal Jones Show. Happy Black History Month. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. And you stay balanced.
Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word to a sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.